Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us at Your Overseas Home. My name is Christopher Nye, and I'm Senior Editor at Your Overseas Home and Spain Property Guides. We have been helping customers relocate and buy abroad safely for 20 years now, and you can see all our guides and newsletters and property mailers and all that via the Your Overseas Home or indeed the Spain Property Guides site. So it's great to have so many of you with us today. This lunchtime, whether you're with us live or catching up on demand. And our goal, as always, is to help you buy safely in Spain. Today, we have three experts with us. We've got Rory Halloran, a trader from Smart Currency Exchange. We've got Carsten Ryder, Operations Manager at Vincent Real Estate. And we have Emma Belgam, who is a paralegal at JLCA Lawyers, and he's down in Alicante. I think you're in that neck of the woods too, Carsten, but you can explain all. Perhaps we could just start off just by saying hi, really. So let's start off with Roy. Just say who you are, where you're coming, and how Smart can help us today.
Yeah, lovely. Thanks, Chris. So yeah, as Chris mentioned, my name is Rory. I'm here representing Smart Currency Exchange today. So I work as one of the traders on the account management team. So essentially on hand to assist all our clients with their plans of relocating. Mainly to assist with your budgeting and eliminating the currency risk that you'll be exposed to throughout that journey. Just a little bit of background on Smart. So we are a foreign exchange specialist focusing on primarily the property market. So helping clients buy property, sell property, but can also assist with smaller requirements for living costs and stuff like that, which I'll probably come on to a little bit later on. We've been in the industry now for coming up to 20 years. So we're formed in 2004. So one of the more established currency exchange providers within the industry. And yeah, we're very useful to help clients successfully transfer money overseas. Primary aim is to keep your buying costs low and your budget essentially there where it is through effective currency risk management. As a lot of you probably are aware, over the last 6 to 12 months, you would have seen a lot of volatility in the currency exchange markets. So with a change of government a couple of times here in the UK, we've got increased inflation, we've got increased interest rates, and all these factors do impact the exchange rate. And that's what we're here to try and assist. So making you aware of the risks, making sure you've got your budget in order with a few different strategies, and basically help you work with the timing of the transaction and make it best for you.
Excellent. You must have a smile on your face today because the pound has gone shooting up again this morning. We'll come on to it shortly. I guess also good news for Carsten, for whom the price for British people has just got a little bit lower. So, Carsten, tell us all about Vincent Real Estate.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for the introduction, Chris. My name's Carsten Ryder. I work for Vincent Real Estate. That has been established in the South Costa Blanca since 1999. Obviously, in any form of industry like this, there have been peaks and troughs during many years of buying and selling properties here, which we've weathered and still provide a fantastic professionalism and advice to our clients for purchasing and selling properties. We have many local listings. As I say, we're in the South Costa Blanca. We have two offices, one here in Beniojofa, which is a little bit inland from the sea, roughly about 12 to 15 minutes drive from Guadamar del Segura. We have another office at Playa Flamenca, which is more coastal, and that pretty much covers the geographic area south of Alicante Airport. Business is good at the moment. The rain that we've had of recent has called a few viewings off, but most of the series people have managed to get in their two-person canoe to go and view properties with us. That's about it, really. We're here. We know what we're doing and available for any form of advice with respect to buying and selling properties.
Excellent. Well, also here and definitely knowing what she's doing, we've had her on several webinars before. We're thrilled to be joined by Emma. Again, tell us all about JLCA and how you can help us today.
Thanks very much, Chris. My name is Emma. I'm a Belgian. I work for JLCA Lawyers. We are an independent legal firm that we've been operating for more than 20 years. Our main base is here in Alicante, where I am. But from here, we cover the whole of Spain, including the Canary and the Balearic Islands. We also have offices in London and in Miami. So we've got a very big presence in a lot of English-speaking countries. But we do also have a lot of clients in other European countries, mostly Germany, France, Belgium, and such. And as I say, we are a Spanish legal firm. All of our lawyers are qualified in the bar associations in Spain. But additional to that, we have teams of paralegals that are native to different countries, like myself from the UK. Because the idea is it's not just to be able to translate what is happening and what you're doing, but to interpret into a way that you understand and that makes much more sense. Because transparency in any transaction in a foreign country is so important. As a legal firm, we are a full service legal firm. So we cover extrajudicial work, as we would talk about, which will be conveyancing, residencies, contracts, business work. But in addition to that, we do also have full civil and criminal departments. So we're able to help with any kind of query that people might have that is pertaining to Spain. That's basically
Excellent. Right. Now, so what we're going to do is we're going to take it sort of roughly how we would suggest you might structure your purchase. Currency, estate agent, lawyer, in no particular order when you're actually organising things, so long as you get it all done before you go out there, I would suggest. So let's start off with Rory. Now, as I mentioned, the pound has strengthened, so that's good news. But if I'm setting a budget, deciding how much I'm going to have to spend in, I guess I need to be calling you to find out the kind of rate I'm going to get.
Yeah, exactly. So I work on the trading desk, so I will be assigned as account manager. The general process for clients is we've got an online system, so you can register online yourselves, and you'll be automatically assigned either myself to be your account manager or one of my colleagues, or you can have an onboarder, so reach out to you. They'll give you a call, they'll ask you a few questions, confirm a few details just to get you verified on the system, and again they'll then set up a welcome call with one of myself or one of my colleagues. That call generally, again, will just run through your plan. So what we want to know really is where you're buying, when you're looking to buy, so time frames, have you got any trips booked, what your budget is, are your funds available? Obviously, a lot of clients who are relocating might be selling a property in the UK first, so only have a small amount of funds available at the beginning. But yeah, just sort of finding out a bit more about your plans, and then introducing to the currency side of things. So just making you aware of the movements, how that can impact on your budget. So like you mentioned today, Chris, the rate has gone up. So it's in almost at record highs year to date. But the rate does move a lot. So yesterday it was slightly higher. We saw sort of nearly a 1% movement alone yesterday between sort of the high and the low point, which obviously on a budget of 100 grand, you're looking at, a £1,000 movement there just in a few hours yesterday. But yeah, making you aware of those movements, and then introducing you to some of the different options available to try and formulate a strategy for when you do buy.
Okay, so tell me what my strategic options, or my what my options are. I guess I'd be particularly worried if the pound's strong today. So I go out. I love one of Carsten's dishes, and then while Emma's going to work, the exchange rate drops, and suddenly I've got to pay thousands more. So how do we manage that?
Sure. So we try and break it down into three main options. So option number one, which is the most popular with our clients, is something called a full hedge using a forward contract. Generally really useful. So say you found your property, you love it, you're going to put an offer in, you're obviously going to know how much that's going to cost you in euros, but you're not going to know the true cost in pounds until you've sorted your currency out. So with the forward contract, what you can do is lock the exchange rate in. Generally, completion of property in Spain, you could be looking at as quick as 2 months, potentially the average would be about 3, potentially slightly longer. But what the forward contract allows you to do is we buy all your euros once you've either put the offer in or had your offer accepted. We will then obviously let you know how much your pound cost is going to be. All you need to do then is just put a deposit down with us. You put down between 5 and 10% just to get that rate secure. And then that's it. So your budget is then fixed. Your pound cost isn't going to change. Your euro amount's not going to change. and that's all secured for you for that 3-4 month window to time with your completion. So really useful way to help with your budgeting, and then takes out any risk or volatility of the exchange rate. Other options we've got are you can do a spot contract. So for your deposit, for example, you need to put down a €3,000 reservation fee, other deposits for the purchase. You can do that on spot contracts, and you can wait right up until completion to do a spot contract for your purchase. Downside of that option is the risk factor. Obviously, if you leave yourself exposed right up until completion for 3-4 months, the rate's going to change in that time. So you're never going to know your true cost in pounds until you actually sort your currency out. So if you wait right up until the day, you could be paying a few thousand more than if you'd locked the rate in. And then the third option that I mentioned is essentially just combining the two. So doing what we call a partial hedge, secure your budget on maybe 50%, which means you've locked in half your risk, leaving the other half exposed to the market. Take a bit of a gamble and see what happens. But essentially, in every circumstance, every eventuality, we've got a few different options for clients. Some clients are really risk adverse. Some don't mind have a bit of a gamble. Myself, I'm risk adverse, so would be more inclined to do the forward contract, but we can help in any circumstance.
Okay, and okay, so I suppose first question, why would I not just go to my high street bank? I know I won't find open, but my old bank, why would I not use the banking firm I've been using for all those years?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's a good point. You'll do well to find a high street bank that's still on the high street at the moment, but more so the actual services provided. So banks are super transactional, so the only option you can do with them is the spot contract. So you'll have to essentially wait right up until completion to do the exchange. The bank will convert into euros and then send them to Spain. So you've got no management there of your budget. You're just gonna have to see what the rate is on the day. But more to the point, you've got the cost factor. So most banks nowadays don't generally charge a fee. Some of them still will charge a small fee for doing a transfer, but it's more the actual exchange rate they provide. Generally, it's what you call the tourist exchange rate. So if you go to the post office to get your euros for your holiday, still something like that, that's generally the rate you'll be getting. Still going through a high street bank. Ourselves a lot more competitive, can get a lot closer to the market level, but also provide that account management service, the correct options for you to help manage your budget and take that risk out of it.
So I'm just picturing myself about to transfer £250,000 to buy a lovely property in Spain, and I'm a little bit nervous about spending so much money. Firstly, how do we know the money's safe with you? Well, yeah. Well, let's stick with that question first.
Yeah, it's always probably one of the most popular questions that I have from my clients to speak with. So, in terms of a transfer, all transfers are, if you're doing pounds into euros, are all done here in the UK. So, when we book a contract in, we confirm everything over the phone initially. You'll receive a breakdown via email of a contract. So it's all on there, your pound cost, the euros you've got, and the rate of exchange. All funds you transfer will be done via bank transfer. So you log into online banking or potentially call your bank to initiate a payment to us. And those funds all come to our Barclays account here in the UK. In terms of protection, so we are actually one of a small number of currency companies to receive full authorization as a payment institution by the FCA, so the Financial Conduct Authority. All clients' funds are held in segregated accounts, so completely separate to the business operating accounts, and these funds are fully protected, so no limit on that under the FCA regulations, and all funds remain in that secure ring-fenced account. And then obviously we send the euros out upon completion to where you need them to go to.
Great. Okay. Now, if we've got questions coming in, do please throw them into the questions box on the side. Bob has asked, is it feasible to use a Revolut bank which gives great exchange rates and transfer via them?
Yeah,
Why not Revolut?
Yeah, so Revolut generally that you get a lot of these payment apps that can offer quite a good exchange rate for a small fee. For larger amounts, I have had clients experience issues more so with Revolut where they'll send a large payment through them. Revolut will then block their account or hold the transfer for fraud reasons. So it's always good just to do your due diligence into that. And again, with someone like Revolut, you're just open to the spot exchange rate. You've got no management there tools with your budget. A company like ourselves, like I said, we've got so many different options available to you as a client. And again, it's sending hundreds of £1,000s through an app. Personally, myself wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. Some clients are happy to do it, but there is generally more of a risk factor involved in doing something like that through a company like Revolut.
Yeah, I guess if you're in the notary's office, then we're waiting for the funds to come through. We want someone who we can speak to, and if it's only a really couple of quid's difference. Okay, great. Now, got any other questions coming in? What about after the purchase? Can you also help me with things like pensions, getting my pension to Spain, getting my other money to Spain?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said at the start of this webinar, we specialise in the property purchase side, but after that, we're here to help with everything essentially. So, a few different options available. We've got an online portal, an online app where you can book in transfers. So, if you've got living costs for bills, you're buying a car over in Spain, anything like that, you can book through the app. You can give me a call and I can help do what we refer to as an ad hoc transfer. But then more to the point, we have a regular payment plan you can set up. So if you're receiving a pension in the UK and you're receiving £500 a month as an example, you can set up an automated standing order to us, say on the first of the month, you credit our account with £500 via standing order. On receipt, we automatically convert into euros and send those funds straight to your Spanish account. So make it really automated, nothing for you to do. And again, the forward contract that I mentioned a bit earlier on, you can also lock in an amount. So if you wanted to buy a certain amount of euros that will last you for the year, we can hold those euros for you, and then you can just pay pounds into that throughout the year and credit your Spanish account as and when you need them. So again, loads of different options for you longer term as well.
Okay, one last question before we move on to our other expert. Lisa, can you help Australians buy a house in Spain?
Yeah, so from our side, we can help with any currency exchange requirement. So we can assist clients who've got Australian dollars and looking to buy in euros. That wouldn't be an issue. So yeah, definitely something we can assist with. In terms of registering someone overseas, so if you're based in the UK, generally we'll just run you through a verification on which links your sort of date of birth and address. If you're overseas, we would need a couple of documents, so generally a passport and a proof of address document just to get you verified on the system. But then in terms of the actual current side, it's something we can help with.
Okay, brilliant. Don't go away because I'll be bringing you back in to answer other questions later. So turning to Carsten, estate agent. Okay, well, firstly, I suppose, what's the market like? Are you busy? How are things?
Okay, hi Chris again. We're busy, yes. We have a lot of throughput of clients, not just from the UK, from the rest of Europe included. Our client balance would generally be about 50% from the UK, and the rest are from other European countries, which basically makes it a very active market because each European country has got a different spending power, shall we say, or available income. That generally makes it what should I say, a fluid market where people are competing against each other to buy property. As well, the weather's actually stopped us this week from doing a lot of viewings, but the viewings have only been suspended, shall we say, and scheduled for later on today and tomorrow. The coronation weeks were quite quiet for us because I think most people wanted to stay in the UK and watch that or be part of street parties. So that was a little quiet. But then after that had finished, we had quite an upsurge in viewings and properties, etc. Generally speaking, it's busy. It's not as busy as it was just after COVID, because obviously COVID actually stopped a lot of people from travelling out, and then the the COVID clients hit us in the space of the next year. So that was extremely busy. So not as busy, but generally speaking, as busy as we normally are. Absolutely.
Okay,
Lots of
brilliant.
offers are coming in, most of which are within a very small percentage of the asking price. At the moment, the sellers are sticking with their asking prices within about 5%. Well gone are the days when a 20% lower cheeky offer can go into the seller. Those days are well gone in this area because of the volume of clients that are actually here on the ground looking for the property now.
Okay. Now, so about viewing trips, tell us how we should plan our viewing trip. Presumably, it's not something we say we're coming tomorrow. We should sort of plan it a week or two in advance. When should we come? How long should we stay? What do you think?
Okay. Well, I'll answer your first statement. Many people don't actually plan. We can have people that we've been, should we say, chatting to over the last year, 2 years. That promise, yes, we'll tell you when we're travelling over, but then unfortunately tell us on the day that they arrive that they're here and want to view, but we've already got no spaces available in the diary because they're already booked out to other people. So my suggestion is, it's not just about booking your flights and the accommodation. If you're very serious about your intent to purchase a property, you need lots of things in place, such as appointments with the estate agent to view the properties, building in second viewings to your time, also building in the potential to see somebody like JLCA for legal advice and attend the notary for leaving power of attorney, have a chat with obviously Smart Currency, who have actually got an office here in our locality as well. So it isn't just about booking the flight and the accommodation. Please, anybody that's wanting to come over to purchase a property, you've got to let the experts and professionals know about it and book yourselves appointments. We can't make any more than 24 hours in a day for clients that just hit us on the ground when they arrive and want to view in 2 hours. It's an impossibility sometimes, especially if we're dealing with an occupied property where the seller actually lives there still, who and then not available to have their property viewed. So please plan ahead.
Okay, and I would guess that maybe it's best to get it in before the height of the summer holidays.
Sorry, say that again, Chris.
I would imagine it's best to get your viewing trip in before the height of the summer holidays.
Yes. Generally speaking, we do say to people, try and get here before the end of June, because July and August can be between 40 and 45 degrees Celsius. So you're traveling around in a lovely 18-degree air-conditioned vehicle with us, and then all of a sudden you get out of the car and you're hitting 40 degrees. It generally isn't. Should I say, it fries your mind and your body if you're not used to that kind of heat, and you cannot normally make a reasoned decision in that kind of heat when you're buying the property. So a lot of people then say, okay, we've had a good look. Yeah, we've had 2 hours looking at properties. Now we want to go to the beach and relax. Their time then is wasted in the 3 or 4 days that they're here because they've not viewed the amount of properties that they deserve to view because it's too hot. So by the end of June, definitely get yourselves booked out, and September onwards. Try and steer clear of July and August. However, for people that are, let's say, teachers in the UK, they might only have July and August available. So again, prepare yourself for some hot weather if you do come across, and maybe make it a longer period of time. So make it a week so you can do just mornings of viewing and then spend the afternoon chilling and relaxing or whatever. But please don't book in the height of the season unless you can't avoid it.
Okay, sure. Now, what about buying costs? So if I've got my budget, which is whatever, let's say £175,000, I guess I'm not looking at £175,000 properties exactly. Do I need to leave a little bit in the bank for buying costs?
Yeah, the buying costs basically are in the Alicante region. Obviously, we have a border with Murcia, which has a different tax content on properties, but the Alicante region.
You managed to mute yourself somehow.
Sorry,
That's
I'm
better.
back again. Sorry about that. The Alicante region has a 10% tax. The Murcia region has an 8% property tax. So people need to add on to the purchase price that tax percentage. So for instance, at 150,000, you need to add 15,000 euros onto the price of the property that you have to pay at the very end to the government. So that then becomes 165,000. And we strongly advise people to factor in a 4,000 to 5,000 euro legal costs on top, which would be for the conveyancing, the searches, the notary dates, the public registry locally and nationally of the property, potential power of attorney, and their NIE numbers as well. Hopefully, they come out with a little bit of change, but it's best to go on the side of caution. So let's say at 5,000 euros, they are in and out, bought the property, everything paid for 170,000.
Okay, brilliant. Now, what paperwork do I need to bring with on my viewing trip? And will you help me? There's an NIE, I believe. What do I need about that?
Yeah, the NIE is quite a simple transaction that sometimes takes a little bit of time. The NIE would be pretty much, it's a fiscal identification number that everybody in Spain has to have for purchasing items such as houses, cars, etc. Should we call it similar to a UK national insurance number? It's a number that registers you for life within the system. For that, you will need your passports, which you'll have anyway, because you'll be traveling over to Spain. So you need them to get to and from. That's it, your photo ID. You'll need to fill in a form that your legal representative can also help you with. Normally, you won't get an appointment during your trip here, as in the appointment with the National Police, because it's the National Police that issue the NIE. That comes in the future. So that's why it's ideal, going back to my previous point, that you should be organising a power of attorney with your solicitor so that things like the NIE can be conducted on your behalf, and the solicitor can actually attend the police station and get your NIE for you in your absence, which means that then it's set up, ready to go, and as long as the money is there, then through currency company like Smart and the solicitors are all in place, you can then go to the notary not in person, but remotely, with all your paperwork intact, provided through your legal representative and the NIE.
Okay. Now, I'm going to ask Emma as well in a minute, but can you tell me what I should be ready to sign when I come out? What I should be ready to sign, and how much money I should be willing to part with if I find the property that I love? That's for you, Carsten.
Oh, sorry. I thought you said Emma. Sorry, Chris.
No, I'm gonna come on to Emma in a second. I'm just wondering. I'm just asking from your point of view. What would you be asking a buyer to sign and pay for if they find that property that they love?
Okay, the standard, well, the norm, pretty much 99 times out of 100, is a reservation deposit of 2,500 euros. That can be received via a bank transfer or a credit card, Visa, whatever, on the day. We then enter into a reservation contract on the spot with between ourselves and the buyer. Excuse me. That will then state that within 14 days, the documents would have been passed through to their legal representative and checked, stroke searched. The client receives information from their solicitor with respect to the success of the searches or not, as the case may be. If there's no problems with the searches that have been advised by their legal representative, they would be then expected to pay, dependent on the purchase price this is, a further maximum of €5,000 as the second deposit, or €2,500. So basically, 5,000 in total, or 7,500 in total. Then the rest is on completion. The buyer is not asked to pay any further monies, as in at the 14-day stage, unless their legal representative is happy with the searches. I.e., if there's some form of problem, then a solution is hopefully found, maybe another week later, so 21 days, then they can make the next payment. If there is a problem where there isn't a solution that can be found, then negotiations take place, and the initial deposit of the 2,500 still stays with us and doesn't move until a solution is found and agreed by both parties.
Okay, great. Now, thinking about that deposit, my wife won't let me buy so much as a coffee abroad without checking the exchange rate. She'd be having kittens at the idea of using a credit card. So, Rory, how can you help with that deposit?
Yeah, sure. So you again got a couple of options there. So you could, ahead of your trip, again plan for that accordingly. So you could set up a contract before your trip for €3,000, just give yourself a little buffer there, and then if you do find that property, give us a call, provide the bank details for where you want the funds sent, and we can do it pretty much immediately, get the funds sent over for you. Or again, find the property, go through the process with Carsten, give us a call whilst you're in Spain, and we can get it all sorted with you over the phone. Be a couple of minute conversation. Like I said, you then get the email confirmation through, do a bank transfer to us, and we can get all the funds processed within a few hours, sent out, and provide an email confirmation that we've sent the funds. So you can provide that to Carsten just to confirm the funds are on their way.
Excellent. Okay. Now, so I know you're not very far from Carsten's office, Emma, but I'm guessing you would prefer that we get in contact with you before we've made that offer, so we can discuss how to structure it, any issues that might arise. So when should we be contacting our lawyer in Spain?
I mean, from our point of view, you can contact us as soon as you're thinking about it and putting your plans together, right up until the last minute. Obviously, it's much better if we can do it earlier, because then we can have a chat about the whole scope of what your plans actually are. Everybody's ideas of what they're planning to do are quite different. Some have got a plan for a holiday home, some have got a plan for something that they want to use for investment, and others are looking at residency options. And depending on your specific circumstances, then there's things that you want to do and get everything in the correct order so that it's all timed the way that you want it to be. In terms of actually being here then and looking at properties as well, if you've got specific plans for the properties, it's a good idea if you can give us a good idea, because then we can make sure that what you want to do with the property is achievable before you go too far down the road. But we can also give you then very specific costings, as in these other webinars when we've spoken before. I never like to work on percentages or rough amounts. We like to talk to people about their specific circumstances and then give them a breakdown based on what they're planning to do on all of the different aspects that they're looking at.
Okay, now you also, I know, deal with visas and things, and so I guess for a lot of people who are retiring to Spain, almost the property process comes after visa worries, because if you don't get the visa, then you're going to be worried about buying the property. So what are the main? So firstly, I suppose the big picture question is, can we retire to Spain? Is it reasonably easy? Are the process worked out? What's stopping people? And what do they need to about retiring to Spain?
Well, these are conversations that I have a lot, and the one thing to remember first of all, and I think this is the most important, is that if you fulfil the requirements for the non-lucrative visa, which is the retirement visa effectively, then there's no reason that you won't get approval. It is not a case of only a certain amount of people are going to get through. It is a case of just fulfilling the requirements and then it will be approved. So, you know, this worry that people have in that respect doesn't normally need to be there. In terms of the requirements themselves, again, I can speak individually with people about their specific circumstances, but there's very general requirements that you do need. And with that, the main applicant is going to need to show 28,800 euros annually, whether that is income via pensions, investments, savings, or a mixture of that. That's the amount that they need to show as an annual amount that they have to show that they can live here. Now, that person can have family attached to their own visa. That would be a spouse or a registered civil partner, children, and each of those people have a smaller requirement. There's an additional 7,200 euros. That's what it is at the moment. It's based on IPREM, which changes every year. So at the moment, it would be 28,800. Well, for a couple, it would be 36,000 euros that you'd need to show between the two of you. On top of that, there's medical cover, and criminal history. All of these documents need to be properly timed for your application. But the most important thing to remember in this is this application is done in the UK. It cannot be done in Spain. So it's really important to work out your timings so that you have the visa ready when you are actually planning to be in Spain, not coming over to Spain and thinking you can go back, because you have to hand your passport in during the application and you don't get it returned until it's been approved, which is typically about a month. So during that time, you need to have somewhere that you can be staying in the UK or wherever you're based until that approval comes through.
Okay, great. So I think we'll probably talk about other visa options. Well, no, let's talk about them now. I believe there's other visa options for people who haven't retired yet.
No, absolutely. They're trying to sort of provide an option for all different circumstances. The most common ones in the past have been the non-lucrative, obviously, which we've mentioned. There's also, with people with a EU passport, there's a different application process that you go through, which is a lot simpler. You have the golden visa, which is based on investment. And there's different types of work visas based on having a job or a contract ready in Spain or setting up a business in Spain. The most recent addition to these is the digital nomad. This has only been approved this year. And the idea of this specific application is that you can live in Spain, but you are remotely working for a company outside of Spain. I mean, specifically since COVID, there seems to be a lot of people that are now remotely working as the norm. Well, this allows them to continue that work, but basing themselves in Spain instead. So it's a very exciting new visa. And again, they can bring family members along based on that visa.
And then there's the golden visa. I believe that's still in operation in Spain.
Yes, we do still have the golden visa. It's based on a minimum requirement of 500,000 euros investment in a property, which has to be clear without mortgage or encumbrance. But this is particularly advantageous because you have an option. You only have to be in Spain for 1 day a year to qualify for the golden visa with everything else. If you are less than 183 days, you still have Spanish residency, which gives you the freedom in Schengen. But if it's less than 183 days in Spain, then you won't become fiscally resident here, which means you continue to pay your residence, your taxes in your country of origin.
Okay, and suppose I've got my visa and I'm living in Spain quite happily. You know, time rushes by. Before long, it's going to be another year. Do I have to go through the whole great big long expensive process again, or how does that work? How's the reapplication?
Renewals are much simpler. The big application is the initial one. That's the visa application, if you like. The renewals are all done from Spain, depending on which type of visa as to when you need to renew them. You still have to supply some paperwork, which is generally to show medical cover or and your financial means, but it doesn't have as much documentation requirement. For example, you don't have to do criminal history certificates several times and such. And a lot of it can be done online from Spain. So the whole process is a lot simpler.
Okay, so we know we can move there. Now, could you just give us the basic rundown of the legal processes, how long it takes, what it's, well, we've already heard something about what it costs, but how long it takes, what we need to be there for, the notable points.
In terms of residency, or you're talking about purchase?
I'm talking about a purchase.
In purchase. I mean, basically, I mean, obviously, Carsten sort of run through the process already. I mean, we would talk in much more general terms because it's obviously across the whole of Spain, and across the board, you would normally be looking at that deposit, as he said. This is the point when you found a property of interest that if you're engaging our services, we would want to be involved, because we'd be then liaising with the agent or the seller's representation in order to start requesting documents for us to review. We'll be looking at all of the documents, the registry documents. There's 2 registry offices in Spain, checking with the local town hall to make sure there's no infractions against the property, and all of the general paperwork. Anything that hasn't been provided and would need to be, we would actually write in as clauses within the private purchase contract, the second contract that he's talking about. So you know that your rights are protected at all times, because anything that hasn't been provided must be by part of the contract, and if it's not, then you have the ability to terminate the contract and get the money back. Obviously, the next stage is again, then once all of this has been completed, the final stage is to go to notary and sign, which can either be done in person or via a power of attorney, which we would normally arrange with our clients. And then following the actual signing, we change over all of the direct debits into the name of the new owner and set them up as direct debits out to their own account, so that they have everything set up ready to start.
Okay, do people still go to the notary? So I mean, I think I would want to. I'd want to be there, get the keys in my hand, make sure it's all done, dusted, and go around and buy a bottle on the way around. Is that still how does most of it happen by power of attorney?
I would say the majority, no. Most of it is done by power of attorney. Most of it.
That's a shame.
There are still some people that prefer to come. We've even had examples where they are here. They didn't want to come into the notary themselves, and then they just had the keys when everything was finished, having been sitting having a nice coffee while they were waiting. So it really does depend on the person. The whole point is that we want to build up the confidence so that they know that they can trust what we're doing. They know they're fully informed all the way through, and then it's entirely the decision if they want to be there in person or not.
Okay, and have we discussed the timescale? So if I get my my viewing trip in before the end of June and the property is empty, how soon should I be looking at being there?
If you have started the property purchase, it is possible to complete in a month and a half, or it can be longer. It depends on the buyer and the seller and what agreements that they have between them. It typically 1-2 months is pretty normal to go through the whole process. But as I say, there can be specific arrangements so that it can be signed in 3 or 4 months. It all depends on what everybody wants in order to complete.
Okay, now I suppose one thing that came that I thought about, customers saying that viewings had to be stopped because of the rain, was how heavy was the rain? I mean, we're quite used to still functioning in the rain in this country. So if and it may think about surveys for some reason. Is it normal a survey done on your Spanish property? And if so, how is it arranged? So let's ask Carsten first.
Hello again. Okay. To be honest, it's not normal because there are other things to actually ask for a survey, because there are other things in place that will safeguard the property. For instance, if a client requires a mortgage, a Spanish mortgage on a property, the bank will do searches with respect to the viability and the value of that property. There's also the habitation and energy certificates that have to be in place upon a new purchase, or they have to have at least a certain shelf life, dependent on which town hall has issued them. So we're looking at 5 or 10 years of the shelf life. Surveys are not standard. However, as a company, we've not got a problem advising somebody yet. If you want a survey, get a survey. Here's a list of surveys within the area. It will cost you €300. So similar to what it maybe costs in the UK. but they're not the norm, to be honest with you, Chris. They're not the norm.
Okay, and is that something? Would you agree with that, Emma?
Yeah, absolutely. It's the same. I mean, the majority of people are looking at properties that will have habitation certificates or their equivalent, and properties that aren't necessarily that old either. Occasionally, when you've got somebody that might be looking at something much more inland, that it's a lot older, if they did want to have a survey, it's no problem to arrange to do so.
Okay, great. Also, I believe I'm right in saying that off-plan and new build is back. Do you deal with those, Carsten? And yeah, over to you, Carsten.
Yeah, absolutely. The off-plan properties are still popular. However, generally not to the British market, because the vast majority of the British market will not commit to stage payments up to 50% of the purchase price of the property, when all they've actually looked at is a show home 6 kilometres away, and then they'll get taken to a piece of ground with chalk marks on it and be told this is where the property will be. The British clients don't generally envisage that, or haven't got the vision to see that is the property. The rest of Europe have no problem with buying new build properties from plan without even a brick being laid. So it's still big business in the area. Prices, like anywhere throughout Europe and the world, have gone up. I can't believe the other day my older half came home and says, I'm not paying €4 for 3 kilos of potatoes when last year they were only €2.25 for the same bag. It's the same with building, land, building developments, the materials, the labour force obviously is commanding more money as well. So that has to be passed on to the client. Compared to maybe 18 months ago, new builds are now becoming a little bit more expensive, but still a viable option for people who may earn their money on the drip, as it were, and only have to pay certain payments at certain stages of the building, and that build may take 2 years. So they don't have to give their money all at once as if it's a resale and complete in 6 weeks. They can actually buy on a drip feed basis and still come out to have a look at the property and choose the tiles, choose the kitchen doors, choose the appliances, etc., etc. That's the beauty of your new build. You can actually choose maybe to have a sliding door to enter the bathroom that goes into the wall, or an opening door. So during the process of the build, you have the facility to decide where you may want something or how something works within the actual property, and that can be chatted about with the actual developer.
Okay, brilliant. And Emma, I know that some people were worried about, well, we heard awful tales from sort of 20 years ago, when things weren't as well protected as they are now in Spain. So we can buy a new off-plan in confidence, can we?
Absolutely, things have changed a lot. And what you're talking about 20 years ago, bank deposits claims, as I mentioned before, we're a full service legal firm. So we've actually worked with a lot of people getting their money back through bank deposit claims up until that ended a couple of years ago. We're very experienced with working with those types of properties. The important thing with these now is, again, when working with them, that we would be checking all the licenses are in place and correct at each stage to make sure that the build can go ahead and that everything is in order. We carry on doing that throughout the build, but also making sure that each of the money deposits that you pay are protected by a bank guarantee. So if there's any issue, you can execute the bank guarantee to get your money back.
Brilliant. And just to bring in Rory, I guess Smart can organise that kind of those stage payments for us, but you can also put in that forward contract, so you know that the next one's going to be at the same rate that you think it's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. So you can do the swap contracts. So for each payment in time, whether it's 6 monthly, quarterly, anything like that, you can do them as and when, or do the forward contract and what we call do flexible drawdown. So you lock in the full cost of the purchase, and then if you've got a payment in May, the next payment's in September, you just send us across the equivalent amount of pounds needed, and then we can send the euros out for the next payment. So that's not an issue at all with ourselves.
Great. Okay. We've had a question in. I'm gonna go through a sort of quick fire round with the questions we've been asked. Forward contract. This is from Nicholas. How much does it typically cost? And is there a penalty to cancel if a property purchase falls through?
Yeah, thanks for your question, Nicholas. So in terms of the cost, so the only cost to yourself will be the exchange rate. The forward contract exchange rate depends on the length of the contract, essentially. So the longer you lock it in for, the rate will be slightly lower. So it does get adjusted sort of for the time frame. But yeah, there's no additional cost for doing that. Penalty to cancel, so no, so there's no cost or fee charged to you for cancelling the contract. We try to be as flexible as possible. So 3 options. You can fully cancel the contract. We would sell off all the euros we've purchased back to the market. If we get all the pounds back, you get your full deposit returned to you. If we get slightly less, then we'll just deduct that small cost out of your deposit. And if we get slightly more, you'll get your deposit back plus potentially a little bit of upside. You can extend the contract at any period of time. If you're still going to buy the property, we can just move the date further down the line. And if, for example, you've locked in until, say, the end of May, but your completion is going to be in June, July time, not a problem. You can settle your contract. We'd simply just hold the euros for you for that extra period of time and then send them out in due course once you've had the green light.
Great. Okay. Now, John is asking, at what point know if a property has a tourist license? Is that something the estate agent would know?
Is that for me, Chris?
Either one.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. As far as tourist licenses are concerned, it's pretty much handled locally to start with. Some town halls do not want tourists in the area, so will not grant a tourist license, which basically means that if you then wish to rent your property out, you have to do it on a long-term contract. If a tourist license is already in place, dependent on whichever area it is, obviously each town hall has its own area that they deal with. So you can have 2 neighbouring town halls that one will give a tourist license if the property is within their catchment area, but the neighbouring one won't. So when we actually list a property, the seller will inform us if it has or hasn't got a tourist license. Obviously, though, tourist licenses are issued regarding the property upon the owner applying for the tourist license. So if the present owner has never wanted to rent the property out because they've been using it themselves, then it won't have an actual tourist license in place. Because the present owner has never felt the need to have one. So the new owner, it's then up to the new owner to seek advice. However, we know which town halls will and won't give tourist licenses. So a client should be honest with us and say, I want a tourist license. So we will then say, right, well, you should be buying in this area, or that area. Then we'll also advise the client whether or not they've actually got enough budgets to buy in those areas.
Sure. Okay. Anything to add to that, Emma?
It's just sort of echoing the same information, is to say not every property has a tourist license because it's never been required to do so. If you're thinking in terms of having a property for rental investment, then you should be looking at specific areas that are tourist based, which are more likely to have that facility. From our point of view, we can there's 2 bodies that we would want to check with: the local town hall and also with the community, because the community owners association associated with where they're purchasing may have statutes that say you can or you can't do tourist rentals. So those are the 2 things that can give you an indication if it is possible. But the actual application itself then has to be done after the purchase in the name of the person. So you can't say 100%, but you would expect if the town hall and the community say that it's okay, that it should be all right.
Okay. Kevin is asking, is there any current legislation forthcoming, so I suppose current or forthcoming, to prevent foreigners from purchasing property in Spain? Sort of big picture, we can all buy in Spain. I assume who wouldn't be able to buy in Spain?
There's no restrictions on people being able to buy in Spain. I mean, at the end of the day, it's encouraged. It's good to have investment in Spain from any country's point of view. They'd be looking at it that way. The only issues you ever might have is obviously for a property purchase, you have to justify where the funds are coming from. If the funds come from somewhere that has an issue of some sort, and we have had wanting to transfer from certain countries funds that they've got, and there might be an issue in terms of finance between those countries. But that's the only reason that I can sort of think of off the cuff that would be a problem.
Great. Okay. Bob mentioned, as an aside, he got his NIE via Spanish consulate in 2 weeks. So that's quite
absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely. You can get an NIE number either in Spain, as Carsten explained before, which can be done at local police station, foreigners office. Getting appointments at some points of the year can be very difficult, hence why it's quite often done by power of attorney rather than in person. But you can always apply from the Spanish consulate in the country of origin. Any Spanish consulate is able to do the NIE process directly with you. So in the UK, you can do it in London, Manchester, or in Edinburgh.
You're on mute, Chris.
It's always going to happen once. Okay, Carl is saying, if I buy a 500,000 euro property with my father, can we both get the golden visa?
Right.
Emma.
So it just cut off a little bit. So 500,000 is the base for one person to make an application, and that has to be without encumbrance. So if it was a father and son purchasing a property, then they would need 500,000 each if they were doing that. However, if it was bought in one of their names, then the other one could be attached to that visa as a direct family member and have the same rights. But the property would need to be in the main name of just one person. Obviously, if you've got 1 million, then half of the property could be equate to one and half the other, and they can do it independently. But there isn't a requirement if they've got that direct relationship. They can be have an application attachment to them.
And how about what about unmarried couples? And say an unmarried couple where you got stepchildren. How does that all work out as regards to golden visa? Could I bring my civil partner and her child, say?
It's actually quite a difficult point at the moment in Spain, because if you have marriage or registered civil partnership, it's not an issue at all. But obviously in the UK, cohabitation is quite normal, but here it isn't recognised as a marital status, if you like. You're still seen as single and not related. There is an exception in terms of the digital nomad. In actual fact, it's the first visa that has specifically said that you can have cohabiting partners, and in that case, you have to have a documentation to prove that you are living together. You're talking about the equivalent of a town hall register or something to show that you both live at the property. Perhaps you both own the property. Bills to show that you're living there. How long you've been living together. Now, in some of these other applications, you can put this forward as evidence to do it as a joint application, but it depends on the person that's dealing with the actual application as to how they see it. The same thing then obviously with stepchildren. I mean, if you've got if both the mother and father or stepfather, depending on how that works, have been accepted, then obviously that isn't going to be a problem for the stepchild. And showing that they cohabit is not difficult, because obviously they'll have been growing up together, going to school and paying for this, that and the other. It's a demonstration point of view. But if you're looking at other members of the family, like a cousin or something, then that doesn't work. It does need to be a direct line.
Okay. Funny enough, we are currently working on a new buying with family and friends guide. We're coming out from your overseas home, so do watch out for that. We'll deal with all these questions. We are actually out of time. It's been we run out of time. Just looked at the clock. However, I'm just going to this one anyway, because when you've been awarded the non-lucrative visa, is there a minimum time you have to be in Spain? I think you've already said just
183 days minimum. You are fiscally resident in Spain.
Okay, whereas on the golden visa, you only have to be there for 1 day. Not that you'd only want to be there for 1 day, but I guess that's the big difference. And the digital nomad visa, do you have to be there for 183 days?
Yes.
Right, which makes you a tax resident in Spain.
There is a differentiation depending on what type of work that they're doing remotely, because some employed workers, not if you've got your own business or self-employed freelancers, but those who are employed by another company, is possible to have an application of Beckham's law on tax. It's much, and I have no time to tell anybody about it, but if they want to contact me, then I can explain.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you to all our experts. You will be getting an email with all the contact details, but of course you can always find them in via the usual channels. That's Carsten Ryder from Vincent Real Estate, Emma Belgum from JLCA Lawyers, Rory O'Halloran from Smart, and me from Your Overseas Home. Thank you for attending. Do take a look at the website to see when our next one is, and just while you're in the mood, why don't you just go and have a look at the website and look at some of Carsten's properties while you're there. We also have obviously properties from every other part of Spain too. So thank you very much, and good luck in your property hunting. Goodbye.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Yes, bye. Oh, and leave us a Trustpilot review if you found this helpful. If you could do, I think there's a link on your screen. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye. Thank you.